It's finally time to share my thoughts and predictions about the 5th generation of K-pop and what that means for K-pop auditions. So specifically for you guys auditioning, how that might change for you guys, and also what are some things that you might look forward to or change your audition depending on my predictions, I guess. Of course, these are only my thoughts and predictions and not necessarily anything that's guaranteed to happen, but I'm sure you guys know that already. And I've kind of divided this into different categories. So firstly, we've got how the audition process will evolve, and new methods for castings and how to get noticed by audition judges. And also lastly, new qualities that the judges will look for in the future that they didn't really look for in applicants before, if that makes sense. So it's roughly divided into those three, but in those I'm sure we'll be having small discussions about somewhat related topics that aren't necessarily related to the heading. I don't know, it'll just be like a talking video. This would be perfect if I was eating something with it, you know? Kind of like one of my audition experience videos. I think it was for P Nation. That was fun. I would do that again. Maybe we can make it like a tradition where I do mukbangs while I do my audition experience videos. Anyway, let's get started with the first one, which was how the audition process will evolve. And my very first prediction for this, you might have guessed it, is more global auditions. We've already seen a lot of different K-pop companies debut very like global trainees, I guess now idols, and we didn't really see that in the past as much as we do now. And to list off some, I know that MLD Entertainment recently debuted, or is a pre-debut group. They're called Horizon, with the Z being like a 7, and all of the members there are Filipino, but they're still kind of classified under K-pop, and MLD itself is a K-pop entertainment company. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of those where it's like a group full of members that aren't Korean, but they sing in Korean and they're under the K-pop branch, kind of like what we've seen with Black Swan. But I know everyone knows about Black Swan at this point, so I'm sure we'll be seeing those where kind of like K-pop meets other nationalities, ethnicities. And specifically, I think we'll be seeing a lot more Southeast Asian auditions as well, like auditions held in those different countries, because a lot of K-pop companies seem to be branching off to those and getting trainees from Southeast Asian countries. One of those examples would be VV Up. Two of the members are Korean. One of them was actually in the survival show My Teenage Girl. I watched that, so it was cool seeing one of the members debut. Their debut song is horrible, I'm gonna be honest. Like, don't even listen to it. And it's really sad because all of the members are super talented, so I'm really hoping their first comeback is gonna be a good song. But anyway, two of the members are Korean, one of them is Indonesian, and the other is Thai. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of those where it's like more than 50%, more than half of the members aren't even Korean themselves, but they're in K-pop. I mean, that's not like a new thing, but I think we'll be seeing more of that. And also, you know how having Chinese or Japanese members in a K-pop group is kind of like a given, where if you see a Chinese member in a K-pop group, that's not necessarily odd. I think the same thing is going to happen, but with Thai members. Before, it used to be super rare to see Thai members in a group, so we had CLC, we had 2PM, Nikun, and also Nikun, and also Blackpink Lisa, I guess. But now I think it's going to be more common, like with Kiss of Life. There's so many I can list off, and I think Thailand might join the China and Japan thing when it comes to K-pop, and we'll be seeing more Thai members in groups. So all this to say, companies will really favor international members that speak English. Obviously, I think that's kind of like a given because you have to communicate with the global fans. If you are an international member and you still can't speak English, unfortunately, I don't think that's really like a plus. Maybe they speak other languages that are like useful, like maybe Mandarin or something like that, but still I think English is definitely like a bonus point when it comes to having international members. And basically overall, they're going to hold more global auditions as a cause of this, and really I think companies already do that. I don't think I've seen like a recent audition where it's not global, like they're only looking for Koreans. I mean, there are still some of those. I don't really do audition tutorials on those auditions because it's not really helpful to you guys, but anyway, we don't really see a lot of non-global auditions, so definitely more global auditions to come. That will definitely be continuing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the new method for castings and how to get noticed by judges. So the first thing I want to mention is, I know I used to be like an advocate for not posting on social media because it's a blank slate and you don't want to have have any digital footprint online. And while I still kind of agree with that, you don't want any digital footprint in a negative way. You don't want to be posting every single little thing you do. But I do encourage you guys, if you are up for it and if you feel comfortable, just to post a couple of dancing or vocal videos on Instagram, ones that you're really confident of, and ones that you would only actually submit to K-pop auditions. If you've already submitted those in the past, that's totally all right. So ones that you're kind of only putting out there for your portfolio. So make Instagram like your portfolio, because what other K-pop audition companies do, like Kpop Entertainment, what they'll do is actually look for different hashtags regarding K-pop auditions. So some of them will literally be hashtag K-pop audition, hashtag dance, hashtag singing, hashtag vocals, but other ones will kind of be more odd, but you still kind of need those, like hashtag 08. So if you're a 2008 liner, you probably want to have that so that the judges can tell. And Kpop Entertainment themselves has shared that they actually do look for hashtag 08 hashtag. I'm saying hashtag so many times, but they look for that to look for new trainees and also DM them on Instagram. It was through this video. It was like a work idol video of Shuhwa where she worked like a casting manager under Q for a day. I actually want to analyze that video because there are a lot of useful things, although it's kind of old. I think it's posted like a year ago or a couple of months ago, but anyway, a lot of things to cover in that video. So if you guys want me to do that, let me know. But definitely post on Instagram if you want to, because you might get reached out to if you're really utilizing all the hashtags and also linking those, like linking your Instagram accounts when when K-pop companies ask for your SNS. So dare I say, street castings are out and online castings are in, but you know, at the same time they're still doing street castings, like in-person castings where they just walk around the streets of Korea looking for pretty people. That's how it is, honestly. Like Eyelid's Wonhee was also like a victim of that, where she was street casted, and a bunch of other idols. But you know, I think a lot of these days, I guess in the past, sorry, I want to say, a lot of idols said, oh yeah, I was shopping one day and I got street casted. A lot of those story times were prominent, but these days you don't really hear that often. You typically more hear like, oh, I was going to an audition myself because I wanted to do it, and I went to this global audition, I online auditioned. You're seeing more of that. So I think because it's really time consuming for casting managers, maybe they're only sticking to online ones. I don't know, it kind of depends on the company too. Yeah, okay. Now we're going to talk about the last category, which is the new qualities that judges now look for or will look for in the future that they didn't really look for in the past. And I think the biggest one is, I mean, I hate to say this, but it's how like well-rounded you are as a trainee or as someone that's going to become a trainee, because being an all-rounder is kind of like a bare minimum these days. Is that kind of harsh to say? But it really is. Like, you have to be all-rounded to become a K-pop idol, because there's increased competition and there's so many people auditioning that, and so many like artists debuting, that you have to stand out. And the only way to really stand out for some of these people is through talent, which makes sense, although there are other groups that try to make themselves stand out through other things that are not necessarily their talent, like their concept or their type of songs. But anyway, all that to say, you really have to be an all-rounder and showcase all of your talents, not necessarily in the first round, but in all of your rounds through an audition. That's what you should be showcasing. So while you're working on your vocal audition, you also want to be thinking about dance in the back of your mind, because you're going to have to show the judges one day about your dance skills, because they're not going to only pass you just through your vocals, no matter how good you are. That's just kind of the case that it is these days, not necessarily for the 5th generation, but yeah. And another thing that I want to note is definitely live singing. Live singing is definitely a topic that has been discussed a lot recently, and I think K-pop companies will not debut a group unless they are ready to sing live, and that's definitely an important factor. So if you can show your live singing maybe in the 2nd round or the 3rd round, that would be amazing. They will probably ask, or they might ask you to dance and sing at the same time. They definitely won't do that in the 1st round for sure. Usually they only look for one specific category in the 1st round, and then if they're interested, they ask more questions afterwards. And I also wrote down like a special type visual that doesn't necessarily have to follow the Korean beauty standard. I think Korean beauty standards is still here. It's still prominent in the K-pop industry. Obviously, I'm not going to deny that. But I think if you look a bit special, look a bit different, that definitely might be a bonus point, because these K-pop companies want these artists to stand out in the very red ocean saturated K-pop industry that it is today. And lastly, I wrote down diverse nationalities. We kind of talked about this before for the first topic that we were talking about, but that is all. I think the most important thing to take away from this is that they're looking for global people. So if you're one of those, do not feel discouraged at this point. Do not be like, oh, they're only looking for Koreans. No, that is out. That is so second gen behavior. So don't even be worried about that. And also maybe utilizing social media, maybe just thinking about that might be a good idea. All right, so that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.